It's 7:30 a.m. on the San Francisco subway, and 23-year-old software engineer Lillian is clutching her transit card. Her fingertips are slightly pale. It's her third month at a tech company in Silicon Valley, and her workstation is still that temporary nook next to the conference room. Her computer screen is covered in a ton of sticky notes. Organize Q1, Q3 2024 test reports. Verify and categorize user feedback data. Print code docs for senior engineers. The tiredness from staying late until 10 p.m. last night hasn't worn off yet, and her boss just hit her up with a new task. Transcribe the audio from last week's product meeting, and make sure to note every department's comments. Lillian stares at the screen and sighs. She thinks back to how pumped she was when she got her offer right after graduation, then looks at herself now, drowned in trivial stuff every day. She can't help but wonder, I studied computer science for 4 years. Am I really just here to be a human copy machine? Lillian's struggle is exactly the most vivid example of the mushroom law in the workplace. First dreamed up by American management experts in the 1970s, this idea comes from watching how new hires grow in organizations. It's just like mushrooms sprouting in dark, damp spots. At first, they get no sunlight. Instead, they're fertilized, stuck with boring, trivial tasks, and even stepped on, facing criticism and doubt. The only way they break through the soil and grow toward the sun is by quietly taking root and building up strength. In Western workplace culture, especially in the U.S. and Europe, the mushroom law isn't about picking on new people. It's a hidden filter for growth. It doesn't test how talented you are. It tests how you handle that this is pointless frustration and whether you can find value in the small stuff. Behind all this, there's some pretty deep psychology. From a psychological angle, the mushroom phase is basically practice for delayed gratification. Stanford psychologist Walter Mischel's marshmallow test proved this ages ago. People who can resist short-term temptations and hold off on instant rewards are way more likely to nail long-term goals. And that trivial task trap of the mushroom phase, it's the ultimate test of that skill. Take Emily, who interned at a Wall Street investment bank. She had an even bigger letdown than Lillian. As a top finance student from an Ivy League school, she thought she'd be working on cross-border M&A deals. Instead, her days were spent copying dozens of contracts, checking decimal points in financial reports, and grabbing coffee or booking conference rooms for analysts. For the first 2 weeks, she'd hide in the stairwell during lunch, feeling wronged. I could do way more complex work. Why waste my time on this junk? Then one day, while organizing old contract files, she noticed a pattern. A certain type of client's default rate was linked to their payment cycles. She took the initiative to make a data visualization chart in Excel. When her team lead saw it, he was shocked. We've been trying to spot this pattern forever, but no one's been as detail-oriented as you. Later, Emily not only got to work on client risk assessments after she was hired full-time, she even led the upgrade of the client credit rating model thanks to her eye for details. She later said, "Those contract copying days, they were teaching me the rules of the industry. Checking data taught me to look at financial logic with a sharp eye. Delayed gratification isn't about giving up what you want. It's about trusting that the work I'm doing now will lead me somewhere later." Another psychological win of the mushroom phase? It fires up the core needs in self-determination theory. Developed by American psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, this theory says we need 3 things to stay motivated from the inside: autonomy, feeling in control; competence, feeling capable; and relatedness, feeling connected. The biggest problem new hires face in this phase is feeling controlled, worthless, or left out. Whether you can actively create chances to meet those 3 needs is what makes or breaks how fast you grow. Take Tom, an assistant at a Hollywood production company. He rewrote his own mushroom phase story by being proactive. His daily job was chaos: organizing the director's schedule, printing script drafts, handling actors' dietary preferences, even hauling equipment for crew members on set. But he didn't see himself as just a gopher. When he organized scripts, he'd use colored pens to note character logic. On set, he'd quietly watch how the director worked the cameras and talk to actors. Even when ordering food for the cast, he'd jot down how they handle long shoots and remind the director to adjust the pace if someone looked burnt out. Once, a sudden rainstorm ruined the planned outdoor shoot. Tom pulled out a backup indoor location plan he'd made, sketches he'd drawn up after work, based on the script and the studio layout. The director was shocked and stoked. "You thought of this before I did?" That break got Tom invited to script meetings, and he eventually worked his way up to assistant producer. He summed it up: the passivity of the mushroom phase is just how things are, but proactivity is your choice. You can complain, "No one's giving me a shot," or you can make your own shots, even if it starts with just going above and beyond on small tasks. Most importantly, the mushroom phase builds a growth mindset, the key trait of high-potential employees in Western workplaces. In her book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, Stanford's Carol Dweck explains, people with growth mindset believe abilities get better with effort. When they hit a wall, they see it as a chance to grow. But people with a fixed mindset think abilities are born. When things get hard, they spiral into "I can't do this." Mark, a software engineer at a Silicon Valley startup, took a brutal hit during his mushroom phase. He was supposed to fix a tiny bug in the product, but a mistake in his code crashed the testing environment. He got chewed out by a senior engineer in front of the team, and the project got delayed. That night, he sat at his desk and cried, "Am I really not cut out to be an engineer?" But he didn't quit. He printed out his bad code, marked every mistake line by line, stayed up late researching and asking seniors for help, and wrote a 10,000-word error review report. The next month, he asked to take on more bug fixes. Every time he solved one, he wrote down what he learned, even volunteered to talk about his failures in team meetings. 3 months later, he was the team's fastest bug fixer. He also proposed a way to speed up the product's loading time, saving the company nearly $1 million in server costs. Mark's story proves the power of a growth mindset. Criticism in the mushroom phase isn't saying you're bad. It's saying here's where you can get better. Failure isn't the end. It's a map to what you need to work on. In Western workplaces, the mushroom phase isn't about just surviving. It's a growth stage where you have to actively break through the noise. If you're in it now, here's what to do. First, learn cognitive reframing. Stop thinking, "I'm wasting my time." Start thinking, "I'm building basics." Organizing files builds attention to detail. Checking data sharpens logic. Even running errands builds connections. Second, stay small but proactive. After finishing a task, ask, "Is there anything else I can help with?" Write up your observations in a report, even if no one reads it right away. Third, manage your emotions. Use mindfulness, exercise, whatever. Keep anxiety from draining your focus. As Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." Those quiet, root-building days, those pointless tasks, they're all clues for your future. Lillian found her own way out too. While organizing user feedback, she noticed lots of people complaining the product was too complicated to use. She used her free time to make a simplified user guide, plus an analysis of what users struggled with. When the product manager saw it, they share it company-wide, and even turn it into a tutorial for new users. 6 months after she started, Lillian's desk was moved to the core office area. She began working on product feature upgrades. Looking back on her corner days, she laughs. "Back then, I felt like a mushroom no one cared about. Now I get it. Those days taught me to see things from the user side. And that's the most important skill you need in product work. The mushroom law isn't about holding new hires back. It's about giving you time to settle and grow." In Western workplaces, no one skips the dark corners to jump straight to the sun. Every industry expert you admire, they once sat through the trivial tasks, stayed patient, and built up their skills during their mushroom phase. After all, every bit of strength you need to grow toward the sun comes from hanging in there and rooting down in the dark. Every lucky break is just a payoff for all the work you put in. If you can see the value in the mushroom phase and grow on your own terms, you'll break through the soil and become exactly who you want to be.